Hey there. Welcome to our channel. We're so glad you're here. Please like, share, and subscribe to join us for awesome content. Also share this video with your family and friends. Let's get started. Let the air around you settle. The sound of your breath, like the slow rise and fall of waves, becomes the only rhythm. With each inhale, the world grows a little quieter. With each exhale, your thoughts drift further from the room you're in. You are here, and yet you are already somewhere else. Somewhere below the surface of what you can see. There's a deeper quiet, a silence that doesn't feel empty, but full, like the pause before music begins. Like the hush of a forest just before the sun rises. You settle into it, as if the universe itself is holding its breath with you. You don't fall asleep all at once. Instead, you glide gently into a slower rhythm of being. A kind of peaceful floating, where the edges of time and place start to soften. Tonight, you're not here to chase thoughts, you're here to follow them slowly, like leaves drifting on a still pond. You're here to feel the pulse of something ancient, something so small and so vast that it slips between the cracks of ordinary life. This is where science begins. Not in noise or rush, but in wonder. And wonder begins with noticing. Beneath your body lies the earth. Beneath the earth, a sea of particles always in motion. Even now, as your body rests, the atoms within you hum with invisible energy. They sway, they stretch, they buzz like fireflies inside a lantern. You are a constellation of motion, disguised as stillness. And these atoms, these tiny ancient dancers, they've been here long before you. Formed in the cores of stars, scattered across galaxies. They traveled through space for billions of years only to become your breath, your skin, your thoughts. You are not separate from the universe. You are made of it. And within that truth lies a quiet miracle, because if you go even deeper, beneath the atoms themselves, you find something even stranger. Something softer, like a whisper folded inside the wind. A world not of things but of chances, possibilities. A realm where the rules begin to blur. This is the quantum world. It isn't a place you can visit with your eyes open. You must arrive by stillness, by story, by surrender. It exists beneath the surface of everything. Invisible but not imaginary. Real but quiet. So very quiet. In this world, particles do not move like pebbles rolling across the ground. They move like questions seeking answers. They shimmer with uncertainty. They can be in more than one place at once. They flicker between states of being, like dreams that haven't yet decided what they are. You may have heard of electrons orbiting the nucleus of an atom, but even that is a kind of myth, a picture drawn to make sense of the invisible. In truth, those electrons don't follow neat paths. They exist in clouds of maybe. They are not points, but possibilities. And those possibilities, they only collapse into certainty when observed. Until then, they remain soft, like unspoken thoughts. They wait. You too are full of maybes. Every future you imagine, every choice you haven't made. Your own thoughts, unspoken, drifting at the edge of awareness. There is something familiar in this quantum uncertainty, as if the universe itself understands what it means to be becoming. And yet, something even more mysterious waits within this fog of probability. A kind of connection that defies distance. A hidden harmony between particles that are far apart, yet not truly separate. Their fates entwined, as if the space between them were only a dream. This is what physicists call entanglement. But that word on its own doesn't capture the feeling. It doesn't tell you how strange and beautiful it really is. It doesn't tell you what it means for two things to know each other no matter how far they drift. So tonight we'll listen, not just with our ears, but with imagination, with calm attention, with the slow, steady heartbeat of curiosity. Because when you are quiet enough, when your thoughts grow still and your breath becomes like wind on a sleeping sea, you can begin to feel how close everything truly is. You might even feel that space itself is an illusion, a gentle trick of scale and sight. That what separates us is not as real as what connects us. That time and distance are only the scaffolding for something deeper. And in that deeper place, something stirs. A strange, shimmering truth that has no shape, but waits patiently for you to notice. Not with eyes, not with reason, but with wonder. Let your breath guide you now. In and out. Let your mind wander. Let it slip beneath the floorboards of thought and into the quiet basement of the cosmos. There, in that deep stillness, you begin to sense it, a whisper that does not belong to one place or one time. A rhythm older than stars, ticking not in seconds, but in relationships. A connection that holds everything, quietly, gently, together. You don't need to understand it yet. Just feel its presence. You are not floating alone in the dark. You are folded into the fabric of something wider. You are cradled by laws stranger than logic, and more intimate than gravity. And as you drift further into this quiet, a thought begins to form. What if the universe isn't built from separate parts at all? What if it's built from relationships? From the way one thing responds to another, even when no one else is watching. You turn gently toward that thought, softly curious, like a child listening through a keyhole, and follow it, deeper still, toward the weave of reality. You find yourself floating, not through water, not through air, but through something more subtle. A kind of invisible tapestry stretches out around you. It doesn't pull or push. It simply is, quiet, endless, and alive with shimmering threads of light. This is not a place. It is possibility. Each glowing thread hums with potential, like a note that hasn't been played. You drift among them, feeling their quiet tension. The way a string holds the memory of every song it could sing. The universe, you realize, is not built from solid things, but from chances waiting to become real. You are drifting through a web of maybes. Look closer. Each thread is not made of light or silk or string, but of something deeper, probability. That is how the quantum world works. Not with certainty, but with suggestion. Every particle, an electron, a photon, even the ones inside you, exists not in a fixed place, but in a haze of likelihoods. This haze is not a flaw. It is the natural state of being at the smallest scale. Particles are like ideas that have not yet been decided. Until they are observed, they are all possible outcomes at once. You pause in the quiet, watching the weave shift. It's not chaos, though it's hard to grasp. It moves with a rhythm soft but precise, a music so intricate that it becomes a kind of stillness. This tapestry you drift through is called the quantum field. A place where particles are not little marbles, but excitations, like ripples on a lake. Each ripple is a particle. Each lake is a field, one for electrons, one for quarks, one for photons. Everything that exists is a dance of these fields. And reality, as you know it, is the music that rises when the dance becomes visible. So you are not moving through empty space. You are moving through a sea of potential. Even the space between your atoms is not truly empty. It hums with the breath of fields, always alive, always watching. And somehow, you are not only part of this weave, you shape it. You remember what you learned in the quiet of the last chapter. That what is observed becomes real. The moment you look at a particle, you change its state. It is no longer a maybe, it becomes a yes or a no. Picks a path. It makes a choice. And you are part of that choosing. This is called the observer effect. But it doesn't mean your mind controls the universe. It means the act of measuring, of looking, of interacting, is inseparable from what exists. Like a dream that shifts the moment you try to describe it, the quantum world becomes something different just because you touched it with your attention. You might wonder, is this magic? Is it consciousness reaching into the heart of reality? No, not quite. It's not magic. It's mystery. Not supernatural, but stranger than anything we used to call natural. A reminder that the universe does not unfold like a story already written. It unfolds like a story being told word by word, glance by glance. And here, in the middle of this great weaving, you understand something quiet and important. You are not watching from the outside. You are inside the pattern. The particles that make you are stitched into the same fabric as the particles you observe. You are a note in the song you are listening to, a ripple in the water you are floating through. Even your thoughts, gentle, slow, drifting like clouds in your resting mind, are shaped by this dance. Because your brain is made of these particles. Your neurons fire in waves, And those waves depend on quantum possibilities too. So the mystery is not only out there. It's within you. You begin to see the world not as objects placed in space, but as relationships woven through time. Like how a smile is not just lips and teeth, but the feeling, the meaning, the connection it carries. Reality, too, is made of relationships. Between energy and space. Between particles and fields. Between you and everything else. You are not just in the universe. You are the universe noticing itself. This is what makes the quantum world feel so different from the world of trees and tables and clocks. There are no fixed positions here. No sharp edges. Only tendencies, probabilities, and the soft tug of connection. Even something as solid as a rock is, at its heart, a delicate balance of fields and forces. What looks hard is made of motion. What feels fixed is, at its root, always flowing. And what does that mean for you? It means your body, resting gently now, breath slow and deep, is not a separate thing. It is part of a vast, changing ocean, made of waves that echo across the universe, stitched together by rules too strange to see, yet too beautiful to ignore. In this web, nothing exists in isolation. Everything touches something else, even if that touch is quiet, even if it's hidden in the folds of probability. And so you begin to wonder, if reality is a weave, and you are woven into it, then perhaps separation is only a story we tell. Perhaps distance is not as real as we thought. Because if particles can be connected across galaxies, if one thing here can respond to another thing there instantly, then maybe the fabric is tighter than we can imagine. Maybe we are closer to everything than we ever believed. And maybe, just maybe, the threads of this tapestry hold more than movement, they hold meaning. Your mind floats a little deeper now. The threads around you shimmer softer, as if inviting rest. The weave does not end, it stretches endlessly into the dark. But within it, something glows. A quiet pulse of connection between here and there, between what is and what might be. And you wonder, if particles can know each other across space, what else, in this strange universe, might stay connected, no matter how far it drifts? You are floating again, this time not alone. Somewhere, two particles are born together, not from stars or matter or time, but from a single moment of pure potential. They are twins not by appearance, but by intention, bound not by distance, but by something deeper. You watch them drift apart, softly, silently, like dandelion seeds carried by different winds. One moves left, the other right. One travels through light, the other through shadow. They move as if they've forgotten each other. But they haven't, because beneath their drifting, beneath their distance, they still know. When one turns, the other turns too, instantly. Not because a signal was sent, but because the signal was never needed. They are not connected by thread or force or wire. They are connected by entanglement, a quantum link that defies our usual maps of space and time. You let this settle gently in your mind. Not like a fact, but like a feeling. Two things, far apart, still behaving as one, still whispering the same secret rhythm. You wonder what this really means. You ask, how can one particle affect another without anything in between? Even light, which is the fastest traveler we know, takes time to move from here to there. It obeys the speed limit of the universe. But entanglement doesn't. It doesn't move at all because, in some strange way, there is no between. The space separating them isn't what it seems. Not empty. Not real in the way we experience it. It's as if, at the deepest level, distance is an illusion. As if space itself isn't the whole story. This idea stirred Einstein, troubled him. He called it spooky action at a distance. He didn't like the way it broke the rules he had trusted. But even he couldn't deny its truth. Because experiments have shown again and again that entanglement is real. Two particles, prepared together, carry with them an invisible bond. Measure one and you instantly know the state of the other, even if it's on the other side of the galaxy. And it's not just that they have hidden properties. It's that their properties don't fully exist until one is measured, and the other responds instantly. Always, as if they are reading the same page of a book, no matter where they sit. You close your eyes for a moment, And imagine these two particles as dancers in a vast, dark ballroom. They begin in perfect step, and even as they part, turning, leaping, floating through the void, they mirror each other. No signal, just rhythm, just a kind of remembering. And then you wonder, what if this isn't rare? What if entanglement isn't an exception, but the rule we forgot to notice? Maybe everything was entangled once. In the beginning, maybe the universe itself began as a single tiny point, a seed containing all that would ever be. And if everything came from one point, then maybe everything still holds that connection. Maybe nothing was ever truly separate. This idea feels both too big and too simple, too strange, and too beautiful to ignore. You think about your body, resting now, calm, held by the quiet of night. It is made of particles, too. And so is everything you've ever touched, everyone you've ever loved. And maybe, just maybe, some of those particles remember each other. Not with minds, not with memory, but with presence. A hidden thread, a shared rhythm, a whisper across the silence. This does not mean there's a secret message passing between atoms. Entanglement cannot be used to send information faster than light. But it does mean something remarkable. It means that the universe might be built not from isolated objects, but from relationships, from correlations, from echoes that stretch beyond space. And in a way, isn't that what everything meaningful in your life is made of? Not objects, not things, but the connections between them, the feeling of being known, the experience of being in tune. You return to the two particles, still spinning, still aware. They do not age. They do not forget. They continue to mirror each other, regardless of time or distance. And you begin to wonder, what else in the universe shares that kind of bond? What else might be entangled, not in science but in spirit? You feel the softness of the thought settle into your breath, like the memory of a lullaby you don't quite remember, like the tug of something just out of reach but always near. And you follow it, because there's more to explore, not just how things connect, but how they communicate, how one particle responds to another, how silence becomes signal, how distance disappears in the silence between stars. The stars do not speak in words. They do not call or cry or sing. And yet, as you float between them, you begin to hear a silence that feels full. It is not the absence of sound. It is the presence of space, vast, open, infinite. A space so wide that light takes years to cross it, and yet so still that a single thought could echo through it in an instant. This is not the silence of loneliness. It is the silence of everything. You find yourself drifting between two distant suns, their golden warmth far apart, but their light spilling softly into the same quiet dark. And in this place between stars, you feel a strange closeness. Not to a thing, but to the space between things. You remember the entangled particles, how they responded instantly, no matter how far apart they were. No wires, no signal, just a shared reality that seemed to ignore distance entirely. And you begin to wonder, if space is so vast, so empty, why do those particles feel no separation? What is space, really? We often imagine it as a container, a great invisible box in which planets and stars float. We think of it as something passive, something blank. But maybe it isn't. Maybe space isn't just where things are. Maybe it's what things are made of. Physicists have begun to see space not as emptiness, but as a field of potential. Not silent, but humming, a fabric, not a void. You begin to feel it beneath you now, like a bed of soft tension. It doesn't push or pull, but it holds everything. Everything, even light, even thought. And in that holding, you feel a new kind of nearness. One that does not depend on distance, but on belonging. You let your thoughts expand, outward, like a ripple on the surface of a sleeping pond, past the planets, past the stars, past the edge of what you know. And the further you drift, the less alone you feel. Because out here, in the dark between things, you realize something. Nothing is truly in isolation. Everything leans on something else. Even emptiness is part of the design. You begin to see that this vast darkness is not a barrier, but a bridge. It's not the gap between two things, it is the connection. Because when two entangled particles respond to each other, they are not sending messages. They are not reaching across the miles. They are simply showing us that the space between them does not exist in the way we thought. It's as if the universe, at its deepest level, doesn't care about where something is, only how it relates to something else. And this makes you think of other silences. The quiet between two people who know each other well. The calm that lives between words in a poem. The pause before a song begins. Not absence. Not emptiness. But meaning, waiting. You feel the hush of the stars around you now, and it feels like that kind of silence. The kind that listens. The kind that connects. And in that silence, you remember another truth. That when we look out into space, we are not just seeing light. We are seeing time. Every star is a story told from the past. The light we see left its source long ago, sometimes before Earth even formed. We are not just looking far. We are looking back. And so, floating here, between stars, you begin to feel something strange and soft. The past is all around you. Not gone, just waiting to arrive. Entangled particles seem to ignore even this. They do not wait. They do not send. They simply are. Their connection isn't slowed by time or space. It just is timeless, spaceless, still. And so, you begin to wonder again, if particles can stay in touch, even across this infinite night, what does that say about you? About thought? About memory? About love? Is it possible that the feelings you carry, the people you miss, the dreams you've let go of are still entangled with you somehow? Not as particles, but as meaning. You don't need to answer. The stars aren't asking for one. They are simply there, burning quietly across the silence. A reminder that even the furthest light still touches you eventually. You begin to feel your breath again, in and out, a gentle rhythm, like waves on a cosmic shore. And as your breath slows, the silence grows deeper, more textured, more alive. You feel no hurry, no urgency, just the sense that everything, even now, is unfolding as it should. Like those particles responding across space without effort. You don't need to move. You don't need to search. Because what connects you cannot be lost. And in that thought, you float softer still, toward the edge of knowing, toward a quiet voice in the dark that once questioned this very mystery. A voice from the past, still echoing in the silence. Still wondering, still watching. Still asking what lies beneath the rules. A name appears in the quiet of your thoughts. It drifts in like a breeze through a half-open window. Familiar, steady, full of questions. Einstein. Loving this? Hit that subscribe button to keep up with our videos. Also share this video with your family and friends. He's not here in body, but his ideas live, etched into the very shape of the universe. Curled into the way time bends. Woven into how light moves. Echoing even now through the silence between stars. And here, in this place of stillness, you sense his presence. Not as a ghost that haunts, but as a mind that watches. A whisper of reason, wrapped in wonder. He was a man who dreamed in numbers, who saw time not as a ticking clock, but as a thread that could fold. He gave us a universe curved by gravity, where the fabric of space and time bends beneath the weight of stars. And yet, even he paused at the edge of quantum reality. Even he blinked at entanglement. Spooky action at a distance, he called it. A phrase equal parts humor and discomfort. He didn't like how it felt, how it seemed to say that particles could ignore space entirely. It was too strange, too sudden, too unreasonable. Because Einstein believed in order, in local causes, in a universe that unfolds politely, one event after another. But entanglement, it laughed at that idea. It suggested that two particles could be so deeply linked that the action of one would determine the state of the other, instantly, no matter how far apart they drifted. To Einstein, this was unacceptable. Not because he thought it was false, but because he thought it was incomplete. He believed that something was missing, some hidden layer beneath the quantum world, a set of buried instructions, tiny notes passed between particles that we simply hadn't found yet. And so, with his friends Podolsky and Rosen, he posed a challenge, a thought experiment known now as the EPR paradox. a quiet protest against the idea that randomness ruled. Their argument was simple and bold. If quantum theory were complete, it would mean that reality itself is not decided until it is observed. And that, to Einstein, was far too spooky. He wanted the moon to still be there even if no one was looking at it. You feel the weight of that thought. Not heavy, just honest. It's the kind of discomfort that opens a door. The kind that whispers, "Look again." And scientists did. For decades after Einstein's challenge, they searched for those hidden instructions, what we now call hidden variables. And for a long time the question remained, was the quantum world incomplete or just mysterious? Then came John Bell, another whisperer of mathematics, another quiet mind working late into the dark. In the 1960s, he crafted a test, a way to measure whether entangled particles truly behaved as Einstein believed they should. And when the experiments were finally done, again and again, Einstein's version of reality lost. No hidden variables, no secret messages, just connection, instant, unexplained, real. And yet, Einstein's ghost doesn't fade, because he wasn't wrong to ask questions. He wasn't foolish to resist. He was doing what every great thinker must, turning discomfort into curiosity, turning mystery into a map. And so you walk with him now, not to correct him, but to thank him, for daring to doubt, for refusing to stop at wonder, for standing at the edge of the unknown and saying, "There's more here, look again." And there is, because even now, entanglement raises questions that no one can fully answer. What does it mean for two things to be one without touching? What does it mean for reality to depend on what is measured? What lies beneath the quantum veil? We still don't know. And maybe that's the point. Maybe the universe was never meant to be explained completely, but gently explored, like a night sky with too many stars to count. You look up now, or down, or inward, it doesn't matter anymore. Direction loses meaning when space itself bends to connection. You feel the stillness again. The same stillness Einstein sat with when he first imagined time as a river that flows more slowly near heavy things. The same stillness in which he doubted quantum strangeness. The same stillness in which you now rest. You do not need to decide who was right. You do not need to choose between logic and mystery. They are partners, not rivals. Like entangled particles, they dance. Two truths, bound across a silent distance. And in that silence, you listen for something softer. A different kind of signal. Not from equations. Not from memory. But from the mirror of your own mind. From the way observation shapes everything. From the quiet act of looking. Because as Einstein feared, and as quantum physics suggests, the very act of observing may change what's real. But what does it mean to observe? To see? To measure? To witness something into being? What happens when we look at the world? And what happens when it looks back? You lie still beneath the softness, o night, and the air seems to listen. Around you, silence glows. Not empty, but rich, like deep ocean water filled with invisible life. The stars, though distant, feel near tonight. You let yourself drift inward, guided by the question that's been forming like mist in your thoughts. What happens when I truly look? In the quiet theater of the cosmos, observation is not passive. It is an action, a disturbance, like a pebble dropped into a glassy lake. You imagine the universe as that lake, calm and symmetrical, and your gaze, your wondering, measuring gaze, creates ripples that never quite vanish. Long ago, scientists believed that the world was like a stage, and we the quiet audience. Watchers, measurers, collectors of truth. But that belief began to tremble when they looked more closely. When they tried to pin down the smallest flickers of matter, electrons, photons, particles so fine they danced between being and not being, the stage itself shivered. The more carefully they looked, the more reality refused to stay still. You are not separate from the play. You are a part of it. The curtain lifts only because you are here to see it. This idea that observation shapes outcome first appeared in the strange theater of quantum mechanics. It begins, as so many mysteries do, with light. Picture a beam of light approaching a screen with two narrow slits. Like sand slipping through an hourglass, the light can pass through one slit or the other. Simple enough. But when no one is watching, the light behaves not as a particle, but as a wave, rippling through both slits, interfering with itself, creating elegant, ghostly patterns on the wall behind. Waves do this. They explore all options. They hum with possibility. But now imagine you place a tiny detector, just a quiet tool to see which slit the light actually passes through. You do not change the setup, only ask a question: which path did it take? Suddenly, the light no longer flows like a wave, picks a side, a slit, a decision, and the ghostly interference vanishes, as if the light knows you are watching and behaves differently just because of your question. You are stunned. How can the mere act of looking collapse the field of possibility into one fixed path? This is the mirror of measurement. Not glass, but a reflection nonetheless. The universe holds its breath in a superposition, many states at once, until your question asks it to choose. You turn over in your mind the meaning of this. Does the world exist only because we watch it? Not in a mystical sense, but in a real mathematical one. You picture the smallest particles of your body, the atoms in your skin, the molecules in your breath, and realize that their dance is shaped in part by what is known about them, by what is asked. It humbles you. You are not just floating through the cosmos. You are a participant in its unfolding. Consider your thoughts, those gentle, fluttering things. They, too, are a form of observation. You wonder if attention, even without instruments or tools, acts like a question the universe cannot ignore. And in responding, perhaps it folds one version of itself into reality, leaving all others behind. Physicists call this the observer effect, though it is not about conscious watching, not exactly. It's about interaction, about contact, about the impossibility of touching something without changing it. You feel the subtle echo of this in daily life. A kind word shifts the room. A glance lingers and rewrites the mood. A question asked at the right moment changes not just the answer, but the direction of a life. Measurement is everywhere, not always with rulers or scales, but with attention, with care. You picture yourself as a mirror held up to the world. What you see is shaped by what you're looking for. What you measure changes. And this gentle power is not something to fear, but to hold with reverence. You remember a story of Schrodinger's cat. A thought experiment really more parable than reality. A cat sealed in a box with a device that may or may not release poison, triggered by a single quantum event. Until the box is opened, the cat is both alive and dead, superimposed in paradox. It's not about the cat. It's about the line between knowing and not knowing, between measured and unmeasured. That line is where possibility lives. And the moment of observation, that decisive breath, collapses it all into one reality. You begin to feel the beauty in this, the kindness even, that reality is not rigid and indifferent, but fluid, responsive. That the cosmos doesn't unfold behind your back, like a movie you've left running in the other room. It responds to the turning of your head, to the questions you dare to ask. You step deeper into this thought, and it carries you like a current. Imagine standing in a forest at dusk. The air is cool, wrapped in the scent of pine and soil. You place your hand gently on the trunk of a tree. To you, the tree is solid, rough, immobile. But beneath your touch, its atoms shift ever so slightly. The electrons in your fingers push against those in the bark. You never truly touch. There's always a quantum space, a shimmer of repulsion, but the interaction still occurs. And in that moment, the tree is no longer quite the same. Neither are you. You have measured something, and it has measured you in return. In this light, the world feels tender. Nothing is static. Everything responds, softly, subtly, to your presence. It's as though the universe is listening, not with ears, but with structure, with rhythm, with probability. The mirror of measurement doesn't reflect your face. It reflects your choice to ask. Even the stars above, burning across unimaginable distances, shimmer with photons that travel for eons, only to end their journey in your eye. That final moment of contact is a kind of answering, a secret shared between you and light. You begin to understand. To measure is to participate. And participation at its root is a kind of love. A way of saying, I see you. I wonder about you. I care enough to ask. And the universe, gently stirred by your wonder, folds toward you in return. You rest in this knowledge. The mirror is not separate from you. It is within you. Every glance, every breath, every question is a gentle touch on the skin of reality. And nothing, no particle, no idea, no moment, is left untouched by that closeness. As you float in this thought, time itself seems to soften. Measurement, you realize, is not just a scientific act. It's a poetic one, a bridge between potential and presence. And if the world changes when you look at it, then what does that mean about time? What if time itself, that gentle river you float within, only flows because you measure it? You let yourself float. There is no ground beneath you, no ceiling above, only a wide, gentle dark. It is not frightening. Feels like floating in thought or memory or sleep. A place without edges. A place where stops meaning what it used to. In this chapter of stillness, you drift through a question as soft as nightfall. What if space is not made of places, but of relationships? You think of how you've always imagined the universe. A great black ocean, stars scattered like islands, galaxies distant and alone. But that picture, while lovely, is only part of the story. The deeper truth is stranger and more beautiful. You recall the word, entanglement. It begins with particles. Two of them born together, twins in some quantum cradle. You might separate them across a lab or a planet or the width of galaxies. But when you measure one, the other responds instantly. As if space itself had nothing to do with it. As if space, that vast ocean between things, were only a kind of illusion. Entangled particles are not two things connected. They are one thing expressed in two places. Or perhaps, not places at all. Just perspectives. Just mirrors facing inward. You begin to feel this idea, not just think it. It stirs something deep and wordless. The sense that maybe the world isn't built from bits of matter separated by distance, but from relationships. That maybe the fabric of everything is connection. You imagine a spider's web. Not the silk itself, but the tremble that moves through it. The vibration. That's what entanglement is. Not a thread between two beads, but the music that both beads hum at once. Always in tune, even apart. And so you drift. You drift not across distance, but through meaning. You move not from point A to B, but from one relationship to another, like stepping stones through a dream. The sense of location begins to dissolve, and in its place is something softer. Presence. You are not where your body is. You are where your attention rests, where your care flows, where your curiosity lands. Perhaps that is the true shape of being. Not coordinates, but communion. The idea of here and there was always a simplification. Even now, as you lie still, you feel how thoughts come from nowhere, how memories arrive whole without warning. You think of someone you love, and suddenly they are with you, not just imagined, but felt. What is that feeling if not a kind of entanglement? Physicists say that entangled particles share a single wave function, a single breath of possibility stretched across space. They are not local things. They are expressions of something non-local, something that cannot be cut in half. And here's the wonder. The act of entangling is not exotic. It happens constantly, naturally, effortlessly. Every interaction creates a kind of link. A photon touches your eye and becomes part of your seeing. A hand brushes against another, and something invisible is exchanged. There is no clear edge where one thing ends and another begins. In the quantum world, separateness is a useful story, but not the deepest truth. Deep down, everything blends, overlaps, echoes. You, too, are a field of entanglements, your atoms humming with histories that reach back to stars, your cells remembering light from lifetimes ago. You inhale and somewhere a tree exhales. You sleep, and tides move under the moon's pull. Nothing acts alone. The rhythm of the universe is not solo. It is duet, and choir, and tide. You think again of borders. How we draw them between countries, between ideas, between selves. But the universe does not recognize these edges. They are maps we've made, not territories that truly exist. The cosmos does not draw lines. It weaves, and you are woven into it. You begin to picture space itself not as a void, but as a web, dense with possibility, rich with unseen tension. You are not moving through emptiness. You are being held in a vast and subtle architecture. Not empty, interconnected. This thought does not scare you. Comforts. You are not isolated. You are part of a pattern, stitched into the world not by force, but by resonance. Even silence, you realize, is a kind of connection, a shared space where meaning can unfold. Entanglement teaches that distance is less important than relation, that two things far apart can still be deeply joined, that knowing something about one tells you something about the other. This is not metaphor. This is physics, but it feels like love. A love without territory, without transaction, just a being with. You return to your breath. Inhale, exhale. It feels almost like a conversation, the air and your lungs participating in one another. A reminder that you, too, are part of this great conversation of matter and meaning. No moment is ever alone. Even this one quiet, late still is linked to everything before and after. Entanglement suggests that time, too, may be an illusion of separation. That the past is not gone, only woven differently. That memory is not just internal, but written into the universe itself. A driftwood thought floats by. Maybe the universe doesn't contain you. Maybe it includes you. And maybe that's what it means to live in a universe without edges. To know that you do not have to go far to be far-reaching. To feel that when you open your eyes, you change the light. To trust that even your smallest breath sends ripples through reality. You lie still again. But now the stillness feels full. Not a pause, but a presence. Not a blank, but a depth. You are part of a song that spans no distance, but connects everything. And the space between stars might not be space at all. Just something waiting to be remembered. Just a question quietly becoming the answer. If no edge defines you, then what truly makes you you? Tonight, your thoughts drift backward. Not with effort, but like leaves riding a gentle current. You don't choose the memories. They arrive. Softly. Without warning. A familiar voice. A scent. A room you once knew. Still bright with the light of some afternoon long gone. And yet, it isn't gone. Not completely. You feel it still, not in sharp detail, but in weight, in warmth. It lives somewhere in you, folded deep. You wonder, where does memory go? Science once told us that to forget is to lose. That when something vanishes, a word, a name, a person, it dissolves into nothing. But the quantum world whispers a different story. A gentler one. A stranger one. Information, it says, is never truly lost. Not even in black holes, where light itself falls and cannot return. Not even there. Physicists puzzled over this. If something enters a black hole, a book, a planet, a single atom, does the information that defined it simply disappear? For decades, the answer seemed to be yes. But that answer felt wrong. Too final. Too blunt. Then came a shift. What if the information isn't lost? Just hidden? Not destroyed, but encoded in the surface, woven into the event horizon, the boundary where light still trembles. Not erased, but scrambled. Preserved, in principle, though unreadable. You imagine your own mind as a kind of horizon. Memories drifting in, impressions falling gently across it. Maybe you don't lose them. Maybe you store them in forms too subtle to name. Maybe remembering is not retrieving. Maybe it's resonating. You think again of entanglement, those particles that remain connected, across any distance, across time itself. What links them is not a thread, but a kind of memory, a shared origin, a silent agreement. I remember you. This memory is not conscious. It doesn't speak in words, but it shapes what happens. A measurement of one still shapes the other. They are not the same as they once were, they've moved on, traveled far, but they still respond as if part of a whole. You begin to feel this in your own life. How some people, even those long gone, still echo through you. How a song, a phrase, a particular slant of light can stir something you haven't named in years. That's not coincidence. That's entanglement, a kind of quantum memory. You breathe in slowly. It occurs to you that memory is not a stack of snapshots, but a field, layered, alive, shifting. Some memories rise up clearly, while others lie dormant, half forgotten but still embedded. And perhaps your body remembers too, the way your hands recall the shape of something, long after your mind lets it go. Even atoms remember. That's the secret of quantum states. When particles interact, they carry away tiny imprints of each other. They change each other not just in passing, but permanently. The universe keeps records. Not the kind you can file or photograph, but records nonetheless. Trails in the snow of reality. You picture this. A photon bouncing off your skin, then ricocheting into the world, carrying with it the faintest trace of you. A whisper of your presence, folded into the light. That photon may travel forever, or fall into a black hole, or be absorbed by a leaf. But it remembers, not sentimentally, not emotionally, but physically, mathematically, and maybe that's enough. You think of the people you've lost, not to death always, but to time. You wonder if they carry some small memory of you even now, and you of them, not just in heart or mind but in structure, in the quiet physics of who you are. Maybe your conversations live on, encoded in the molecules of air you once shared. Maybe the laughter remains, folded into the universe like ink into water. Maybe nothing is ever truly lost. And if that is true, then grief itself changes shape. It becomes less a rupture, more a transformation. The end of presence, perhaps, but not of connection. You pause. What about your own memories? The ones you cannot access anymore, the details faded, the names misplaced. Are they gone? Or are they simply resting, like seeds under snow? You smile at the thought that your brain is not a hard drive, but a garden. That memory doesn't have to be constant to be true. That the past is not a frozen fact, but a living rhythm. Sometimes the right note calls a whole song back. Quantum memory works that way. It isn't about storage, but relationship. What something is depends on what it once touched. What you are depends on what you've loved. Even now, particles within you carry traces of stars. You are built from elements born in the hearts of suns. Atoms flung into space, traveling through time, carrying their own histories, their own silent memory. You are the record of what has been. You feel that now, not as an idea but as a presence. You carry more than you know, more than your own story. You carry echoes of ancestors, of forests, of fire, of light that scattered long before there were eyes to see it. And this memory is not a burden. It's a belonging. The universe does not forget. It remembers in form, in pattern, in potential. What was once connected can always be felt again. Sometimes directly, sometimes only as longing. But even longing is a kind of memory. You settle deeper into this thought. Perhaps time does not pass as we think. Perhaps it pools, loops remains. And perhaps memory is not what you keep, but what keeps you. You drift now, not backward, not forward, but inward. You let the quiet fill you. You listen to it the way one listens to water in a deep well. Something is there. You may not name it. You may not summon it. But it waits, like a star behind clouds, like a note at the edge of hearing, like someone calling softly from another room. You wonder now if the most precious things, love, thought, presence, do not vanish. They just become hidden. Or perhaps they become entangled in a way that can never truly be undone. You lie still, but the stillness hums. It is not empty. It is full of quiet vibrations, of invisible links, of something that doesn't have a name but feels unmistakably real. The more you soften, the more you sense it. A belonging that doesn't need proof. A presence that doesn't need direction. You are not looking out at the world anymore. You are inside it, threaded into it. Last night, entanglement was a concept, strange and beautiful, a kind of quantum connection beyond space and time. But now it feels closer, less like a theory, more like a heartbeat. You place your attention on the air, the space between your fingers, between your thoughts, and realize, even that is not empty. It is relationship. It is potential. A field of silent communication. At the heart of entanglement is this: there are no isolated things. Only patterns. Only resonance. Only the echo of touch. Two particles become entangled, and suddenly they are no longer individuals. They are one system, one wave stretched across location acting as a whole. When one changes, so does the other instantly. Not through a signal. Not by travel. But because they are still, somehow, together. You feel that now, not only in atoms but in your own being. How your moods ripple from someone else's glance. How a shared silence can bind more deeply than words. How even across oceans you've sensed someone thinking of you, felt your heart respond for reasons logic could not hold. You don't need to understand all of it. You only need to notice it. Entanglement isn't a magic trick. It's the language of the universe. A quiet grammar of togetherness. And it's everywhere, not just in labs but in forests, in songs, in the spaces between people. Even in sleep, you are not alone. The cells in your body communicate constantly. Not by shouting but by responding to chemicals, to impulses, to the shape of a neighbor. Your body is a community, conversation. And at a deeper level, the particles within you are in constant contact. Not through force but through correlation. One spin aligns with another. One pulse reflects a distant rhythm. This is not mysticism. It's quantum physics. But it feels like intimacy. You imagine yourself as part of a great weaving. Not an object, but a knot in the thread. Your presence gives shape to the whole. If you were to vanish, something would change. Subtly, irreversibly. Because your being is not yours alone. It extends. The illusion was always that we are separate. But physics never promised that. Only perception did. You think of Bell's theorem, the idea that no local explanation can fully describe quantum entanglement. In simpler words, no explanation based on things acting independently, at a distance, can account for what's really happening. Reality, it turns out, doesn't behave like little pieces bouncing around in a void. It behaves like a whole, a seamless, vibrating whole, like a song. In a song, no single note contains the music. It's the relation between them, the rise, the fall, the tension, the release. This, too, is what you are made of: relations, harmonies, interactions. A being defined not by boundaries but by bonds. You pause. You let this truth settle. If you are not a thing but a pattern, then who are you, really? Perhaps not the name, not the body, but the way you echo in others, the way you participate. Entanglement shows that things are not primary, interactions are. The universe is not built from Lego bricks. It is built from verbs, from becoming, from response. You think of all the hands you've held, the eyes you've met, the small kindnesses given or received. None of it is gone. The effect of those meetings lives on, rippling outward. Every action entangles you more deeply in the world. This, perhaps, is what love truly is. Not just a feeling, but a physics, a commitment to allow your state to be changed by another's, a willingness to share being, to be part of a system larger than yourself. You feel into the spaces of your life, the silent pauses, the unanswered questions, the faces that still live in your memory. They are not separate. They live in you because they are you in some small but real way. Their choices shaped yours. Their thoughts still echo. You recall someone you miss, someone whose absence has felt sharp and heavy. And yet, haven't they moved with you quietly? Haven't you carried some thread of them through every new place, every new moment? You have. You do. That is entanglement, too. It is not bound by time, not undone by distance. It doesn't fade. It changes form, becomes more subtle, more interior, but it remains. You are stitched into them and they into you. Even now, as you lie here, motionless, quiet, your breath moves the air, your heat warms the sheets, your thoughts shape your chemistry. Every part of you is in dialogue with something else. And far beyond this room, the particles once joined to yours still hum with a memory of your being. You are not localized. You are distributed like light. You are not watching the universe. You are in conversation with it. You wonder what would change if everyone knew this, not just in theory, but in their bones. That no gesture is small. That no one stands alone. That even when we're silent, we're still singing. Entanglement does not mean control. It means participation. And maybe that's enough. To be woven into a universe that responds. To live in a reality where to exist is to be in relation. A tear falls. Quiet, involuntary. Not from sadness, but from the soft weight of being seen. Not by anyone in particular, but by the whole. By this vast, radiant, responsive fabric of which you are a shimmering part. You close your eyes, and the dark is no longer dark. It is full of unseen presence. Full of shared being. Full of memory, echo, light. You drift now, not away but further in. And somewhere beyond sound, beyond even thought, you begin to feel what it means to be held not by hands but by the entangled heartbeat of the whole. And in this togetherness, soft and infinite, you begin to wonder. What happens to all this connection when you fall asleep? When you close your eyes, the world does not go away. It folds inward. The darkness behind your eyelids is not empty. It is full of soft stirrings, subtle glows, quiet continuities. Your breath slows. Your body begins to sink. But your awareness, it expands gently, like light moving through water. You feel it now, more than ever, the pulse of connection beneath everything. The silent music that began before you were born and continues even as your thoughts soften. You are not retreating. You are entering. The night doesn't cover you like a blanket. It receives you. It opens into a deeper kind of presence, one that requires no effort, no direction. The stillness you move into is not lonely. It is vast, warm, woven. This is not the end of the journey. It is the widening of it. The boundary between you and the world begins to dissolve. The hum of your body slows until it matches the rhythm of things much larger: tree roots, ocean tides, planetary orbits, the quiet drift of galaxies. Sleep is not disconnection. It is surrender to entanglement. You recall what the physicists said, that observation collapses reality, that attention shapes what becomes real. But in sleep, you are no longer observing. You let go of the lens, the questions, the measurements, and something else emerges. Possibility returns. The waveforms rise again. The world is allowed to shimmer. You float in that shimmer now, between dream and thought, between memory and imagination. In this space, the categories blur. You begin to sense that consciousness is not a switch but a spectrum, a landscape you drift across each night. Even now, entanglement continues. The cells of your body repair themselves, communicating without words. Neurons fire in intricate choreography, replaying moments, recombining experiences, dreaming in a language older than speech. Sleep is not passive. It is an act of participation. The universe does not pause when you do. Continues to whisper, to cradle, to weave. The atoms in your chest still resonate with stars. The molecules in your breath still carry the memory of trees, of oceans, of other lives. You are not leaving the world. You are entering a deeper part of it. You begin to sense that sleep is not escape, but return. A homecoming to the original rhythm, to the shared pulse beneath all separateness. When your thoughts quiet, what remains is not nothing. It is presence. A great and simple presence, vast as sky and intimate as breath. You drift inward, and as you do, you feel all the threads you've gathered on this journey, the wave-particle duality, the mirror of measurement, the illusions of space and time, the soft memory etched into everything. They do not fall away. They come with you, not as facts, but as feelings. You remember now what the stars taught you, that they do not shine for you, but with you. That your eyes complete their journey, that every photon finding your skin has traveled across ages, seeking only a moment of contact. You remember the mirror, how the act of looking shapes the world, how your questions are not separate from the answers they create. Even in dreams, you are asking. Even in sleep, you are part of the equation. And you remember entanglement not as a puzzle but as a touch, a togetherness that survives distance, that weaves you into lives you've never met, across space you'll never cross. You think now of all the people you've known, those near, those gone, those only imagined. You feel them with you not symbolically, but physically. Not in metaphor, but in memory that moves deeper than words. You are part of a field, a story still being written. And sleep is not forgetting. It is remembering without trying. It is allowing the deeper mind to surface. The one that doesn't speak in sentences, but in sensation. Tonight, that deeper mind remembers everything. Not in sequence, but in wholeness. It remembers the softness of a voice that once soothed you. The heat of the sun on your back during some lost summer. The ache of longing. The thrum of love. The shimmer of awe. All of it. Still here. Still alive in the folds of your being. The physicists say that information is never destroyed. Not truly. It simply becomes inaccessible. Hidden in patterns too subtle to detect. But still present. And maybe that is what sleep is. The act of trusting what cannot be accessed. Of yielding to the unseen patterns that have been holding you all along. You breathe. The world breathes with you. You are no longer sure where you end and everything else begins. And that's okay. Because in this quiet place, the place behind thought, behind sight, behind story, you are not alone. You are embedded. You are entangled. You are known. And perhaps that is the softest truth of all. That you do not have to hold the world for it to hold you. That even in stillness, you are part of the unfolding. That even now, the light still reaches you. So you drift, gently, slowly, carried not by dreams, but by resonance, by all that you've touched, and all that has touched you. And as the last edges of waking fall away, you find yourself wrapped in the same presence that sparked the first stars, that hums in every atom, that waits in the silence when you close your eyes. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, like, and share. See you next time.